So with Slot under pressure, could Liverpool legend Xabi Alonso be his potential successor in the future? Well, Ben Ransom has been speaking to him ahead of Real Madrid's match against Manchester City. We can speak to Ben now. Ben, what did he have to say about potentially returning to the Premier League to manage?
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was probably the standout moment from his press conference today, where you can imagine 90% of the questions were in Spanish from local reporters here in Madrid asking about his position, his future, the way the team is playing. He gave us 3 responses in English, and one of those was really interesting because he was asked directly about his affection for the Premier League, the fact that when he left Liverpool as a player, he didn't come back in a playing capacity. He's not yet coached in the Premier League, and whether somewhere down the line it might be something that tempts him. Now, under normal circumstances, when a manager is at a club as big as Real Madrid on the eve of a Champions League tie, you would expect them to bat it away, not answer it, maybe give a no comment. Xabi Alonso, after playing more than 200 games for Liverpool, certainly didn't rule out the possibility of one day going back in a coaching capacity.
Well, for sure, there's this bond with the English clubs, for sure with my former club. But at the moment, this is my place. This is where I want to be, and in the future, you never know what could happen.
So there is pressure on Alonso right now. How pivotal is tomorrow's match for him?
Well, if you'd believe some of the local reporters I've been speaking to today, tomorrow literally could be make or break. Lose to Manchester City, perhaps even draw the game or play poorly, and that could be that as far as Xabi Alonso is concerned. But there is context to all of this. Xabi Alonso, when he came in, actually implemented his style quite well. We saw at the Club World Cup they were turning themselves into a team that had that high energy and aggressive press that he made his style at Leverkusen, which brought him success in Bundesliga. Well, he's brought that to Madrid, but slowly but surely that has disappeared from Real Madrid performances. Results have dipped as well. If we rewind back to the start of November when Real Madrid went to play Liverpool in that Champions League game, it was a famous victory on the night for Liverpool. Real Madrid were not quite at their best, and actually since then their form has been really poor. That game part of a run where they've won just 2 in 7 in all competitions, and in La Liga it's even worse, just 1 win in 5. So it's seen them essentially go from 5 points clear at the top, having beaten Barcelona in El Clasico, to 4 points behind their rivals, and that isn't good enough. The loss against Celta Vigo at the weekend at the Bernabeu met with whistles and jeers from the Real Madrid fans, who are growing more and more unhappy with the way this season is playing out from what was a positive start with Xabi Alonso winning his first 13 of 14. So from Xabi Alonso's point of view, you can understand why there's so much focus on his position from the Real Madrid press in particular. But today he was quite clear. He sees tomorrow's game as an opportunity to reset. He sees it as a big match for them to make a statement, and he's only looking as far as Manchester City.
The next one is the best one, so you need to face it, and not just myself. I think that the players and the fans, everyone knows, because they have faced against City so many times for the last years. We are what we are expecting. But for sure, it's a big challenge, but I see as an opportunity at the moment. It's not about changing, it's about adapting, because I knew pretty well the culture of Real Madrid. That's why it's the biggest club in the world, and you need to adapt it, you need to learn from it. And after there is a process. You need to have this interaction with the players, how we want to perform. Some days are good, sometimes are not that good. But from every game, we take steps, and now we are in this position right now. We have to face it with good energy, with positivity. That's the only way to turn it back and to have a better feeling.
I will say this for Xabi Alonso's performance today. It was a very good performance. Body language was very good. He was assertive. He was calm. He didn't buckle under any of the pressure, despite the fact there were 3 or 4 questions directly about his position and about the noises. Even at one point, he was asked about rumours of who might replace him. He was dealt with everything in a very considered manner. He was trying to portray a united front. But Real Madrid, as we know, is a club where player power is key. And that key question is whether or not he still has the faith of the very big personalities in that dressing room. I will say this, though, he might be without a few of them for the game tomorrow, because we get to watch the first 10, 11 minutes of their training session on the eve of a Champions League match, missing Kylian Mbappe, the player who has taken responsibility for scoring so many of their goals. Everything they've done well this year has pretty much come from Kylian Mbappe. He, I'm told, has some discomfort, so he's now a major doubt for the game tomorrow. That would be a huge blow. This is a team, remember, that already has huge defensive injuries. Camavinga also absent from the session today. We know that Trent Alexander-Arnold, Dean Howson, for example, both out. Danny Carvajal, club captain, he's out. And at the weekend in that loss to Celta Vigo, they lost Eder Militao, the big central defender as well. So despite the fact they go into the game with optimism and that positive energy, they may be short on numbers, and Xabi Alonso may be short on time.
OK, Ben, for now, thank you very much. But yes, we start once again with this man here, Mohamed Salah, who has posted on social media today with this image of him training by himself at Liverpool's training ground. It comes as he was removed from selection ahead of tonight's match against Inter Milan following his remarkable interview on Saturday. So while Salah trains alone on Merseyside, his teammates are out in Milan, and that is where we find our reporter Vinny O'Connor. Vinny, very good afternoon to you. You heard from Arne Slot last night. What did he make of Salah's comments at Elland Road?
I think what we saw, Joe, was someone who was surprised that it's come to this kind of situation as well, particularly as Arne Slot came across as someone who genuinely felt that his relationship with Mo Salah hadn't deteriorated to the extent that Mo Salah said. I think there's disappointment as well that he's in this situation, particularly when you consider last campaign, Arne Slot was widely praised for the way he'd freed up someone like Mo Salah from his defensive responsibilities, and Salah was able to produce that outstanding season that saw him with 47 goal involvements in total in the Premier League as well. And on top of that, I think there's also exasperation from Arne Slot, because he's in a situation now that not only is he over here in Milan for a big European Cup tie against Inter Milan, but he's without one of his star players, obviously, but also at a time when he doesn't have Cody Gakpo and doesn't have Federico Chiesa. So Arne Slot was asked for his response last night to Mo Salah's comments, and this is what he had to say.
Well, do you feel he was referring to you when he talked about being thrown under the bus? And
the only one who can answer that question is Mo himself, so I can guess, but I don't think that's the right thing to do in this moment of time. So it's hard for me to tell who he means in that situation, to be honest. When I didn't play him anymore, usually players don't like the manager then that much, but he was very respectful to my staff members, to his teammates, and he trained really hard. So to an extent, it was a surprise for me that when I heard after the game that he gave the comments he gave. But as I said, it's not the first and not the last time that when a player doesn't play, he I'm not sure if he was emotional or not, but that he says something something similar to what he did. But I think my reaction to that is also clear. And that's that he's not here with us tonight. He has every right to feel what he feels, but he doesn't have the right to share it with the media. He has that right, but then it's up to us to react on it.
So Vinny, Salah won't be involved at the San Siro tonight. I guess the big question is, does he still have a future at Liverpool?
I think the next step, first of all, is whether he'd be available to face Brighton at the weekend. Of course, after that, he's off to the African Cup of Nations. Now, with regards to Brighton, Arne Slot said he would reassess the situation tomorrow once this game against Inter Milan is out of the way. He was asked directly, of course, if hand on heart he could say whether or not Mo Salah still had a future with Liverpool. He said at that point that he has no clue, but the context behind that was that's only been brought into question because of what Mo Salah had to say at the weekend, and Mo Salah himself bringing his own Liverpool future into question. Remember, of course, that he only signed a new contract a matter of months ago as well. So what is clear that is there's an interesting dynamic in that changing room, because we spoke to Alisson yesterday, and of course there was still unequivocal support for Arne Slot. They believe in his methods, they believe in what he tells them, and therefore they're still fully behind him and fully behind him turning Liverpool's season around as well. Of course, given that Alisson has spent such a long time as a teammate of Mo Salah as well, he has a good deal of support for him. He said said he wanted to have a word with Mo Salah, and he will do, and keep that private, of course, as well. But what is clear is that he would like, at some point, Mo Salah to be reintegrated into that Liverpool first team.
What I hope, yes, that he plays again for the club. But that's a personal situation. That's a situation between Mo and the club. We, as his teammates, as his friends, we hope the best thing happens for him. But as Liverpool FC players, we want the best for the club as well. So it's we want a win-win situation for everyone.
And just to reiterate that team news ahead of tonight, as we know, no Mo Salah, no Cody Gakpo either. There had been a faint hope that Federico Chiesa might have recovered from an illness in time to fly out this morning. That isn't the case, though, and he won't be available either.
OK, Vinny, for now, thank you very much.